So let's look at this first example. Construct a scatter plot using the following set of data. We've got the number of beers someone has and their grade. Does the number of beers you drink the night before a test affect your grade on that test, is the question. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to plot this set of data using the number of beers that comes first as our x's, and then we'll use our grade as our y's, and when we want to see if these are related. That's how we're going to see if one might affect the other, as we want to see if they have a correlation. So let's enter in both lists of data into your calculator, and we'll do that by going to your stat key first. So we'll press the stat key first, then select edit, and we're going to put everything into our list 1 and our list 2. We'll put, let's see, in our list 1, which was our first list, will be our x's, will be, for list 1, we'll have our x's, which was the number of beers. And then in list 2, we'll put our y's, which was our grades that matched up with those number of beers. Then once you've got everything in your list 1 and your list 2 from your original problem, then we'll press the y equals button. And then that's where you normally go to graph things. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to go up to the very top and we're going to make sure that plot 1 is highlighted. So if plot 1 is highlighted, what it's going to do is it's going to automatically graph our x's and y's on a scatter plot. Now, our x's, as a reminder, were our beers. And those numbers range from 0 to, if I remember right, my table went up to 6. So I'm going to have my x's actually go a little bit before that and a little bit after that. I'm going to change my window by pressing the window key. I'm going to have my smallest x value as -1 and my largest x value as +7. Okay, and then remember my y's were my grades. Well, grades should technically be anywhere from 0 to 100, so let's do that. So those are my y values. They're going to range from 0 to 100. Nothing else is going to change, so after you input your window here, you'll just select the graph key. So we will go ahead and just press the graph key on our calculators. And what it will do is it will go ahead and plot just the points from the x's and the y's as points. And that's what's called our scatter plot. Now the question is, do we think there's a correlation? Does it have to be perfect, kind of like a line? And for this example, it does. It looks pretty close to a line. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but something like this. Notice, though, that the line has a negative slope. That means that the correlation for this set of data will also be negative. Now the question is it a strong correlation or a weak correlation? Okay, well, we are going to look at correlation, and we're going to use the letter R to talk about correlation, and we're going to call it actually a correlation coefficient. And like I said, we'll use the letter R. Our calculator can actually find this for us. And our correlation coefficients R can be anywhere between -1 to 1. Kind of think of it as a number line of values for R. At the high end, it'll be -1 on one side, and on the other end, at the other high end, it'll be +1. And in the middle, we've got 0. And the way that we want to think about it is the closer you are to the ends, to 1 or to -1, the stronger your correlation is. So as you get closer to either, and again, this is to either one, to either positive one or negative one, the stronger your correlation is. What does that mean? If your correlation is stronger, the closer you get to either one or negative one, that means the more like a line it will look. The closer it gets a positive one, the closer it will look to a line with a positive slope. The closer you get to negative one, the more like a slope with a negative line it will look. And what happens if I'm not close to 1 or to negative 1? What if I'm closer to 0? Well, that's where you're not going to look like a line at all. That's where you've got your no correlation, is when you're not close to 1 or negative 1, you're closer to 0. That's going to be your no correlation. You don't really look like a line. You just look like a bunch of scattered points. So the closer to 1 that your correlation coefficient is, the stronger your positive correlation is, because again, you're getting closer to positive 1. The closer your correlation coefficient is to negative 1, the stronger your negative correlation is, and the more like a negative line your data is going to look like when you plot the scatter plot. And the closer your correlation coefficient is to 0, is the more like a scattered graph you'll look like, and you won't look anything like a line. So again, this chart below is a good kind of explanation as to you get stronger as you get closer to positive 1 or negative 1. And the closer you get to 0, you have no correlation.